This video I'm going to talk about labels and what it's like to be labeled and having a label applied to you. As I've gotten older, and even as a kid, I was having to process that a lot. When I was um, very young, I got severely bullied in the fifth grade, and the label that was applied to me was weird and creepy and gross and ugly and um, no one likes him. It was like all of these negative things were hanging over my head. And it started off with, really it was the teacher that just didn't like me, and the kids and my friends were reacting to that. Um, he just didn't like me that much. And so that energy that she had towards me was kind of being acted out. Disdain and looking down on someone and all of that, and it kind of propagated throughout the whole school to the point where people from other classes I didn't even talk to in the cafeteria would make fun of me. And I would literally hear people, "Oh, Skylar, he's stupid. He's weird. He's don't talk to him." I would hear that kind of crap in the hallway, and it just destroyed me emotionally and mentally. And it affected really the next 10 years of my life. And still affects me a little bit today. And it's traumatic. It really is. When you are the most disliked uh, person in an entire community of 500, 600 people, that's brutal to a person's self-esteem, and especially when you're growing up. And so the reason I'm making this video is I really don't expect anyone to be watching these, maybe like 20 years in the future, who knows, but I'm also processing a little bit verbally, and it helps just to get it out there. This all just sits in my head, and just to get it out there. And something I'm processing in life these last couple of years has been labels. And recently, I really, really value authenticity and honesty. And I think part of that is because of what I went through as a kid, where what I did in response to those labels being applied to me is I thought to myself, gosh, I don't want to be the weird, stupid kid no one likes. So I should probably be the smart, likable kid that people do like. And so I started to work to become that. And something I kind of caught on to was when I did good on my tests, people liked that. When I did good on my teachers liked that. And if my teachers liked me, then my friends would like me a little bit more. At least they wouldn't hate me, which is really what I was going through. Is just that feeling of being hated and disliked and treated like dirt. And as I think on that soul crushing feeling of, hey, I filled in these bubble sheets correctly, and you're calling me a genius. And I'm not a genius. I'm just an average kid who's doing what you like. So I learned to people please. I learned to fill in the bubbles, and I learned to almost, in essence, like it was like a process of losing your soul to gain the approval of others, to gain the world, as it were. And so what I learned was that I have to be someone else to fit in. And that if I'm me, if I'm authentic, and if I'm real, and if I'm vulnerable emotionally and with honest authenticity, then people are going to bully me, they're going to label me, they're going to judge me, they're going to hurt me. I'm going to be cast out. I'm going to be the scapegoat. I'm going to be picked on. I don't really want to join in on picking other people, so I need to find something to be liked, something to be accepted, so I'm not experiencing those things. And labels are brutal. The Bible says the power of life, or the power of death and life, is in the tongue. So when I look at someone and I say, you are this negative thing, you are this, you are this, you are this, you are this, brutal, absolutely brutal, especially if that's spoken to a person with a sensitive heart, who's receiving it and trusting you. Like, that is so brutal, deeply brutal, emotionally to go through. And especially when I was a kid, it was like, man, I look up to my teacher and I trust her, but she thinks I'm stupid. That's hurtful. And all my friends think I'm stupid. That's hurtful. That's a lot to go through. And when you learn to perform to fit in, I got perfect on all my tax tests in the 6th grade. And I remember sitting there and holding that piece of paper was one of the most broken, hopeless moments in my life. One of the just most depressing. It should have been the highlight. I kept thinking I should be happy about this. I worked so hard. I'm on Adderall and I'm doing everything I can, and I'm working hard, and I have no friends, and I'm working hard. And I just look at this paper and I just feel empty and broken, and people are calling me genius and child prodigy and all this crap. And I know that's not me. And I think all I did was fill in bubble sheets correctly. I feel empty and I feel broken, and I have to do this for another 6 years and then another, like, the rest of my life. And do I even want to be a scientist? What am I doing? Skylar, what are you doing? That was the feeling that I felt looking at that piece of paper. And I realized the lie that I was living, that I had to work for love. And it was a form of grief from a place where I wasn't loved. And as I've gotten older, I see the same thing everywhere. And I still have been going through it. In church, I opened up to the entire group chat, probably 200 or 300 people. A few years back, when I was really struggling with the porn addiction, I opened up in the entire group chat. Guys, please pray for me. I'm struggling with this. Every single lady didn't want anything to do with me after that. And there was a label applied to me right there. There was a label applied to me. I let that happen. And I think back to myself and every single person in church. Hey, I'm struggling with a porn addiction. Please pray for me. Hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with, whatever it is in that moment. I have been ridiculously vocal about it. I think more than anyone else I know. I will walk up to random people, my barber. I talk to it about my barber, and someone, random person at a shop. Hey, I'm struggling. I'm writing a book about my experience trying to quit. I'm still trying to quit. And I hear, oh man, I'm struggling too. I was talking to my wife about it. I don't talk to this about many people, but that's common, almost every single interaction. And it's being so vocal. I think people have told me, given me advice saying, Skylar, what are you doing? What you're doing is stupid. Yeah, it is. It is stupid if my goal is to be liked. But my goal isn't to be liked by people. I've tried that. It's broken. It's miserable. It's hopeless. If I'm being liked for someone I'm not, then what's the point of anything that I'm doing? If I am selling my soul to gain the world, what's the point of it? What good is it? And you can't get everyone to like you. You can't. There no matter what you do, there's going to be people who just don't like you. And you can't live for the approval of those people or the people in the past who made you feel labeled and judged and hurt. You can't live for that. And when a person goes through such immense rejection and hate and hurt, it is so deeply tempting to join that game of living for approval. And my appeal to myself and to anyone who happens to watch this uh, is don't go down that road. Don't go down the road of sacrificing your soul for approval and success. Don't go down that road, and you don't have to. If you are struggling with an addiction and you fell down last night, you can go and tell someone, and that doesn't make you any less of a human being. And if they react to that negatively, that's on them. It's more important to be honest, because if you lose honesty, like, honesty isn't a bad thing. And we need to be honest. We need to be able to be vocal. We need to be able to speak the truth, even when the truth is that you're struggling. That's so important. And when I went through that brokenness in the 6th grade, when I realized, I was holding that paper and I realized how broken pursuing that lifestyle was. It's something that carried with me, I think, for the rest of my life, where I have been brazenly, openly, even I would say at points rebelliously vocal about my problems and things that I know that if I share to other people will cause them to like me less, will cause them to label me, will cause them to judge me. How are you going to react to someone who walks up to you and says, "Hey, I'm struggling with a pornography addiction," versus someone who walks up to you and says, "Hey, I'm doing really great"? How are you going to react to those two people? One person, they've applied almost a label to themselves immediately. But one person is not necessarily more harmful than another. The person who said nothing could easily be struggling. Statistically today, if it's a male around my age, is likely struggling with the same thing. But people make all sorts of stereotypes and assumptions based on what you tell them and based on those first impressions. And I have been brazenly, abundantly open with my first impressions about being my own worst critic. And the reason why is because if I don't have authenticity and I don't have sincerity, then what's the point of anything that I'm doing? What's the point of it? I'm not going to become a liar. I'm not going to become someone who seeks to be liked because I felt broken. I refuse to join in with that mentality. I refuse, because I shouldn't have to, and you shouldn't have to, and no one should have to. No one should have to lie to be loved. That's the bottom line. And the pain of being labeled is something that can drive people to a place of, gosh, all these people I love and care about think I'm dirt and don't like me. And I just want to make them happy, and nothing I do is good enough, and I'm trying, and I'm being honest and vocal, and I see other people who aren't, and they're liked and they're loved, and that's unfair, and I feel unseen, and it feels painful, deeply painful. And it can bring you to the conclusion of, gosh, I'm just dirt. Maybe the world's better off without me. Why am I here? I'm just dirt. And I think a lot of people in my generation are really starting to realize how desperately we need authenticity and honesty and sincerity. We need to be able to be honest and vulnerable and open with our struggles, with our feelings, whether you're a prostitute, a heroin addict, a junkie, or you thought about ending your life last week, or you're struggling with pride, with anger, with bitterness, with alcohol, we need to be able to be open and ask for help and say, hey, I'm hurting. And I'm being honest and I'm being real. And because the alternative is miserable. Imagine a society where everyone hides their problems, hides how they feel, hides their struggles. It would be hell on earth. I think that's the reason in some places, there are suicide nets around the buildings. Because people can't say, I'm hurting, without being labeled and without being judged. And when, as a society, when a person says, I'm hurting, I need help, I'm imperfect, please help me, and society puts all these labels and labels and labels and labels and beats them over the head with an iron rod and says, you are less of a human being, the world is a better place without you in it. That's a sign of a really, really unhealthy dynamic in society, where we worship and enthrone the rock star and whoever person of influence here that we all love and admire. We worship and enthrone them, but we demean, devalue, and beat the beggar. We beat the addict. We beat the estranged. We beat the person who's easy to beat. And we do it collectively because we don't want to be those people. And so if you're bullying someone else and you're hitting someone else, you're not the person being hit. And that can feel, psychologically, that can feel like, gosh, I'm of value. Maybe, I'm not this person, but I think intrinsically we know we're all right here. We're all beggars. We're all people with problems and pain and hurt, and we're imperfect, and really and truly we need Jesus. We all need Jesus. And no matter how much we cover up, no matter how many how good we get on that test, whether we fill in every single bubble correctly, no matter how many people we please, no matter how much adoration, how much attention we get, how many accomplishments we put on our resume, we're still in need of Jesus, and we still need help. And it is through grace, not by works, that we're saved. And it's being labeled is a brutal, miserable thing. But as I get older, I start to see something beautiful in having gone through a lot of that pain, because it's brought me closer to Christ and shown me that my value doesn't come from my works. And it was that thing that I am fighting for, that I encourage all people to fight for, is to remain honest and to be able to continue to be emotionally vulnerable with people. Because when you raise your hand and you say, I am hurting, I thought about ending my life last week, other people who feel just like you will be able to raise their hand. And maybe someone stepping up and speaking out and saying, I am hurting, is just what someone else needs to be able to speak the thing that they cannot even verbalize. And this is so, so important, I think, for a healthy society, for a healthy organization, for a healthy family, for a healthy life. And it's the concept of mercy, of being able to look each other in the eye and make allowance for each other's faults and love each other, knowing that we are too imperfect. You raised your hand, you considered suicide. I'm not going to think of you as unstable and emotionally damaged and broken and, oh my gosh, I don't want to get whatever emotional disease that you have, so I'm going to push you away and label you and judge you. No, 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 no. My God, I'm so sorry you went through that. You're a human being and the world is a better place with you in it. That's what we need. Now, are there some things that as a society we should react to? Like, hey, I'm actively beating my wife. Absolutely. But the point is to have dignity for people. And I think when we're able to show people dignity, it's easier for just everyone involved. It's easier as a society for people to live in harmony and breathe calm. And it's a dangerous road when you start to see people be treated without dignity. And you could go back to World War II and how the Jews were treated, and it's a dangerous road. And it can be an indication of something really, really, a really evil thing down the line. Because the concept of if I can look at another person and see their life as worthless, I can do anything I want. And love goes cold. And that is a very, very dangerous thing. And it is worth fighting to keep love in here. At the end of the day, at the end of what else matters except having a relationship with Christ? And if I have a relationship with Christ, I have love in here. So my appeal to anyone who's feeling labeled, who's feeling judged, even a single person who happens to just watch this, is don't sell your soul to gain the world, and don't join in on bullying, and don't harden your heart. Don't lose your innocence, and don't lose authenticity and sincerity. It is worth the cost. It is worth the cost to be honest and to be labeled. It's worth it. So don't stop being real with people. Thank you for your time.